Hello again, welcome to part 2. I hope you will watch part 1 because part 1s are important. I think a lot of people still seem to skip my part 1s and just look at the part 2s, which probably doesn't really work that well because you will have missed something, I think, probably. Otherwise, why would I have made the part 1? But I don't blame you because these videos are long and you've probably got more important things to do, so you probably just pick the one that looks most interesting. Anyway, this is the one which is logistically very tricky, where I try and show you all the revamps as little versions as they would look as cards. But before I do, let me just show you something that has just happened. I kid you not. I went back to this book. If you've watched video part 1, you will see that when I was looking at this, I went, oh, it's supposed to say still spirit, and then I went down here and it said nothing. Check the video. I mean, am I losing it? It said nothing. It said blank. And I thought, oh, wasn't that meant to say Wild Silence? Because Daniel suggested that was a good name. And I stuck with it because I trust his judgment. And Daniel being one of the most lovely supporters of this channel. Thank you, Daniel. Yes, and now it says Wild Silence. And I only went and made a drink and kind of just twiddled about a bit, fiddled about what I was going to do, came back and opened the book, and there it was. It came back. So even words can disappear and come back apparently, or whole sheets of paper. I don't quite know, but it's trying to prove a point that these things do happen. And there, we'll leave it because I don't know what else I can say. Anyway, let's move on to the actual point of this, which is to compare the original Wild Spirit cards. There we see the Magician and the High Priestess, otherwise Cunning Man and Wise Woman, and we have the revamps below. So if I just do this, hopefully you will be able to see. So from the left to right we have Magical Spirit Wild Cunning, which I thought was a much better way of doing it, and so did other people too. Thank you for your comments. Yes, you can see the difference between the printed versions of the originals and my poorly printer versions underneath. Hopefully when whatever these would ever be printed, they would look as vibrant as the ones on top. So the names have changed. Cunning Man, Magical Spirit, Wild Cunning. That is because we're using the words wild and spirit in each title except for one, which we will come to. So this has changed from Wise Woman, Dream Weaver to Visionary Spirit, Wild Dreamer, and then you can see how those cards would look together. Now this next one, which is the Empress, but in this deck is Wild Woman now, that we would have the equivalent card. I can only show you a card back because that one has vanished. So I will show you what it did look like. I can't put this next to the actual card itself because it's much bigger, but there we are, it's in the old style design. You'll remember this video from a few weeks back, hopefully. And it was originally called Great Mother of All, Spirit of Love. And very graphically done. Anyway, so now we can't compare the two, but we can show you what it looks like next to the companion card, Wild Man. So Wild Woman and Wild Man, Empress and Emperor. Nurturing Spirit, thank you Rowan for encouraging me to do that, and Protective Spirit, and he was Lord of the Wild, Strong Spirit. And he's changed very much, but there are videos about all of these if you want to go back and look at them in more detail. The point of this one is just to show you how far we've come and to lay them out as you would see them, not in a reading but next to each other, which helps, I think. Now these are 9 centimeters, which is bigger than this card, but when I did them at the same size as the original card, my printer just wasn't of a good enough quality so you could see it properly, and I'll show you the evidence of that in a bit. Anyway, moving on. 4 minutes gone and lots of cards to get through. So then I have not done all of the cards, so there are gaps. There is the gap of the Hierophant next, and I have not done him, so we will move on to Soulmates, Blessed Union, which is the Lovers, and in this one This is one that I did very recently. Twin Spirits, Wild Connection, and the colours of that are lovely, and they just this is good for me because it shows me how well they would look if they were printed properly, all next to each other, and how beautiful they would look, because that has obviously been an aim of mine, to make them look as aesthetically lovely as possible. So we have the Strength card, which was Natural Force. Wild Power is now Strong Spirit. Wild Energy. And again, I shall just bring up so you can see them next to each other as they would be perhaps in a spread. And we have one of the newer the old revamp that's been done again, which was the Hermit Healer card, Wise Counsellor in the original, and there's now Healing Spirit with the enigmatic looking lady, and Wild Wisdom. Now I'm just going to keep I think I'll keep doing this so that you can wait for the camera to focus and have a good look at how they look as cards would, and then I shall move along to the Wheel of Fortune, which was Dance of Life, Web of Fate. Another one that I've been working on very recently is now Spirit Dance and Wild Fate, and I shall bring you that up there so you can see it in context with the other two cards around it, and hopefully be able to get an idea of how lovely that would look if the colours were properly printed. Keep saying that, Poppy, why don't you? It's a bit of a bee in my proverbial bonnet, as it were. Right, so then we have the Hanged. Why do I have trouble saying that? The Hanged Man. Silence. Visionary Spirit became Still Spirit. And yes, it does say Wild Silence underneath it. Let's have a look at... This isn't just about showing you what the cards would look like next to each other and how many we've completed. It is also about the names and whether you think they are working. So we'll just skim along here again on this row that we've looked at so far. And then we come to the only card in the deck which can't have the word wild in it. It has... I did try. It wasn't just logistical because you couldn't fit it on the scroll behind his hat, but it just looked silly. Wild Rebirth. It was unnecessary. So Rebirth is the only card, kind of like the standout card, because it's a kind of pivotal thing, if you want to take it like that. So Rebirth has not changed its title, has not really changed its design. Spirit of Change, still Spirit of Change, but the whole overall presentation is much better. We have now the vortex, the kind of tunnel in the background, much clearer. We have the baby looking at you in a very meaningful fashion. We have the old man looking down with such tenderness. And we have the red magician's cloth on the table, which highlights the bones. It's all very enigmatic, this card, and I think maybe I should do another video on it, but hopefully now you can see the elements more clearly than you ever could in the original, that it will be apparent. However, these cards, the original cards, had this massive storybook to go with them, and even when I had to do the re-edited version for my when it was remaindered, and I bought all the remaindered cards, or as many as I could, I had to rewrite the book and have it reprinted myself, and I had to make it a lot smaller because of costs for the person that was doing it for me. So yes, the books will always explain all the intricacies, just like with the Everyday Enchantment Tarot, but I do like my visual clues to be clear anyway, so you shouldn't really need the book. Moving on to the Devil card, the Fiddler. There he was in his original form, Wild Spirit. Now he is Trickster Spirit. We covered him quite recently in a video, and he is the Wild card as opposed to the Wild Spirit. Let's have a look at those in a row. I must say, I am very hard to please, but I am happy with what this has yielded. The work that I have put into it has paid off, I hope, but that is really for you to decide. I feel happy with it, which is something in itself. I probably won't be when I look at it again at some other point, but at the moment I feel like I've done my very best job, which is all I can say, isn't it, really? So then we have the moon, Mother Two Moons, Sensitive Spirit. Now, I liked the name Mother Two Moons very much, but there was no way I could, do the whole spirit and wild thing with that. It just would not fit. So I've gone with illusionary spirit. It's a strange word, illusionary, but it fits. I mean, it's perfect for the moon. So yes, and wild depths, because it was going to be the same sensitive sort of I don't know, something sensitive, but wild depths fits much better with the whole card and the whole image, I think. It has started to rain, really heavy thunder spots, so don't be surprised if there is a crack of thunder and you can hear the rain. My apologies. I wish I could control the weather, but I am not the magician or anybody other than somebody that makes really sort of wobbly videos. Right, moving on to the Sun Skydancer Morningstar. Lovely poetic title for the original. Is now Bright Spirit, Wildfire. That rain is going to turn to hail and make a lot of noise, because for some reason here it doesn't tend to rain, it tends to hail. I don't know why. I am not a meteorologist. I can't speak very well either, so I'm not sure whether I'm even a functioning person, but there you go. That happens when I'm making videos. Does it not? Right, so there's those. We were up to the sun. So now we go to Judgment, which was Transformation. Awakening Spirit is now Awakening Spirit. There we go. A little moon and sun faces in there. Probably not that successful in terms of its alignment with the scroll, but still, this is just for kind of test purposes. Wild transformation. The scrolls and the lettering. I love the lettering, I love the font, but I don't think it's coming across because of the printing. Some of them are very hard to decipher. There will probably need to be work on that. Maybe the scrolls need to be lighter coloured than they are. But this one with the positioning, if you can see that, the lettering goes right over the moon and the sun faces, so maybe that's okay. I liked it, but maybe it would not be okay for you. So let's just bring that out so you can see those. Before we come to our final world card, which is in this deck, well, it was Reaper, Wild Harvest, and it is now Wild Reaper, surprise, surprise, and Harvest Spirit. So it's amazing how much I've managed to stick to the originals in a lot of these cases. I've taken so many of the elements. I've taken as many elements as I possibly could from the originals and deviated from them as slightly as I could, because I wanted them to still be recognisable as the Wild Spirit deck. But in updating them, there were things I had to change, obviously, but you can still tell quite profoundly in a lot of cases what card is, they're quite similar. They're very similar. Something like the strength card had to be pretty different because it just was not realistic enough for my current working. But they really do, just come up again, they really do stick to the originals as much as possible. I don't know whether that's going to be entirely the case with the rest of the revamps if they continue, but for some reason my camera's just gone light, so you're probably going to get a very bleached version. This is how they look. I wish I could spend ages doing this so that you could get a really good glimpse into it. Let's go down to the bottom line again so you can see again how similar, except for this poor one who has lost her original. You can see how very similar they are, only much more realistic, much less graphic, much more colourful, much better, I hope, really, in terms of artistic skill and interpretation. And I've also tried to tweak it so that the colours and the things that are included allude to the element of the card, so there's more of a connection there as well, which I did not concentrate so much on in the original deck. It was more about the characters. So let's just do one more little spin. I'm hoping this is proving useful and you're not bored. Well, I suppose if you are bored you would have gone by now, won't you? But there's not much I can't really do a lot to kind of jazz this up. It is what it is. It's a tour of the Revamps. So you can see, let's go back here, what we have achieved. I believe there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 Revamps. Now, I've also presented them like this, so that you can, don't know whether this is going to be any better at all. Maybe you saw them put kind of 4 to a sheet, but I don't think this is going to serve any purpose really for you to see them any better. Just gives you another idea how they would look next to each other, I think. However, I think you've seen that. If you spot a card that I haven't done a video on and that you want me to do a video on, then please do say so. Or if I did a video and it was a long time ago and I've changed the card, or whatever. Comments are beautiful things, and almost always, yes, they're always welcome. They're always welcome unless they're kind of rude. But I don't think, unless I do another one about a screwdriver, I don't think I'm going to get any of that. Hopefully not anyway. There we go. So this is how they would look. I hope you're seeing this. Right, now this is how I did it small. This is how it would have been actual sized. And they're just too small. Just too small to because of the printer, I think. So if we take, let's just take him, put him next to that. So if I just increased the size. So I think now this would be too big for an actual card. This will be probably a little bit too small, somewhere between the two. So somewhere manageable. Obviously they've got no borders, so we don't need to worry about that. However, they will probably still have a blade border chopped off, which I have accounted for. So yes, anyway, that's why I've made them bigger, although that's how they would be actual sized. And if the printer was really sharp, then that would be quite adequate for you to see, I think, and they could be that size. That is exactly the same size. So they are all, that is a whole thing. So they're 8 centimetres, and then the other ones are 9 centimetres. So that's that. Finally, you probably saw a sticker sticking on this cloth on my first video, which did not look very nice, and it said card backs. Yes, I'll come to that in a moment. What I wanted to just do, I'll just show you the major arcana that I have not covered yet. I have not done the Wandering Minstrel or the Fool card. I have not done the Hierophant, or as he was here, the Interpreter. I think he's going to have to be very different. I don't think there's any way I want him to look like that, so he might be one that's quite changed. I'm not sure about this one either, which is the Chariot. But maybe he's the hunter here. I'm not sure. It's all about focus and will and everything, but I don't know. I don't know anyway. I haven't done him yet because I found him one of the more challenging ones. This one is definitely more challenging. This is Justice. This is the one that people had a lot of trouble with because it had the kind of Robin Hood theme in it, the hooded one, sort of offering, it's all about honour. The story was all about honour and accepting the bag of coins over being an honourable man, and the kind of hooded Robin Hood spirit that was dispensing the justice there. I had a wolf in the background for Wolf's Head, but it was all a bit too enigmatic and people didn't get it. So that has to change quite significantly to be, so who knows what that will be. It might retain the element of the kind of Robin Hood figure because he was for justice and he fits very nicely with the rest of the Wild Spirit deck, but it won't look like that because it obviously was too confusing. And as an image, probably not that successful. Ditto Lightning Tree. I might keep him, I might not. Lightning Tree is obviously the tower. Yeah, he could stay with some changes, but he probably won't look exactly like that. This is the star, the source. I'm not sure about this one at all. I know what I was trying to do there, but it's not really what I would like to do now. So that one has to go, and then there's Temperance, which is the inner child here, which I think that would have to go completely, or I don't know. These are all the tricky ones. Well, actually the Wandering Minstrel is not tricky. He will be pretty much the same. The rest need some thought. Now, why did I put card back? I'm nearly out of time again, you see. I put card back in because this is so difficult with these gloves on. I wanted to remind you that if you got the Wild Spirit deck, and it would have the same card back because I do think it's rather lovely, but if you had a big fan of Wild Spirit cards ready for a reading, it just looked amazing. You can't see it because the colours, I'm looking through my camera and the colours bleached right out of it, but it looked kind of like this sort of psychedelic. It just looked really wonderful. It was something unexpected that I was very pleased with when it actually came out, and other people commented on how incredible it looked when it was fanned out and all this. The colours are lovely. So yes, I would be sticking to the same card back but updating it to be a little bit more realistic, but not too much. So my dears, we have covered the revamps and given you the story of where we are up to with them. And I keep saying we because this is a collaboration between us, and I am doing it for us and not just for me. Otherwise it would not be something that I would be interested in doing. It's not a vanity project. I want it to be something that works for people because that deck has been out of print for so long, and I think that it has been missed, and that probably not universally missed, but people have missed it. I know that over the years, and to make a lovely new version of it seems to be a worthwhile thing to do. Not for myself, but for others. So we'll leave it there because I'm going to get cut off. Thank you so much for joining me for part 2 then. Oh, for goodness sake. I couldn't cover that up. That was just, I'm going to go. I'm going to go before I say anything else because, and why not make a noise to go with it, Poppy? That's a good idea. Lots of love. Stay free for all our relations. Bye. Thanks for watching, and